it's monstrous getting you out.
Oh, so we're terribly sorry.
My niece has gone for the chauffeur.
This is Mrs. McNear.
How do you do?
I'm Mrs. Hamilton. Sit down. It's rather late to be driving about in the mountains.
Why, my wife and I were having supper at the beach casino. And about 10 o'clock, she suddenly decided we must spend the night at Hillcrest.
How do you do, Mrs. McNear?
Oh, how do you do?
Oh.
So, we meet again. I'm Mrs. Summers.
Summers?
Why, yes.
Oh, not Mrs. Ralph Summers.
The former Mrs. Ralph Summers. Do you know Ralph?
Oh, yes, we've met. Quite casually.
Ralph and I ran across each other this evening at the casino, quite by accident.
Oh!
I'm strongly opposed to divorced couples meeting.
I fancy you two will be together for a long time. Oh, Jones, is the car filled?
I can't find the chauffeur, ma'am.
Well, if you'll tell me where the gas is, I'll fill the car.
Oh, it isn't that, sir. We keep the gas in a cistern underground. The chauffeur has the pump key.
Oh, that means no gas until morning.
Until morning?
You'll just have to wait and let us put you up.
Oh, no.
Well, there's nothing else for us.
Oh, we couldn't do that. We wouldn't impose like that.
You're not imposing in the least. Jones, get the bag.
Oh, no.
I'm going to look in the icebox and find some food for you. You must be starved.
Mrs. Summers, that's terribly nice of you, but...
You don't know what a lark this is going to be for Aunt Julia and me, isn't it, dear?
You're better off here than you would be at that awful Hillcrest.
Oh, no.
The West Room, Jones.
We gotta go, really.
Yes,
You
yes.
can't. You've no gas.
The one-way road to the summit, or I wouldn't have stopped.
You're just in time. We was closing.
Fill her up.
All right. Say, it's the other one.
That's funny. Mrs. Summers only expected one.
Yeah, but which one? Say, we're taking no chances losing that $100. Get busy.
Well, what's holding us up?
Say, listen, there's a smallpox quarantine on at Hillcrest.
All right, we're not stopping at Hillcrest.
Oh,
Well, what's the delay?
looks like you're stopping here, though.
What?
You're out of gas, and so are we.
Tank must leak. Well, where do we get some gas?
There's a lodge half-mile down that side road. I think they can fix you up.
Well, Mrs. Summers,
What?
if I'm not presuming too much, Mrs. McNear and I are in the habit of sleeping in separate rooms.
I think that's scandalous.
Julia.
Is the world coming to an end? Now who's coming?
Good evening. I'm in something of a predicament. I'm out of gas.
There's a gas station at the
The filling station seems to be in the same fix. Station man sent me here. He tells me there's a quarantine at Hillcrest so that I can't get any gas there.
All right, Jones.
Good evening.
Did the gas station man send you here?
I thought you might sell me enough to make the next station.
Well, I'm terribly sorry, but all our gas is locked up until morning.
That's awkward. And my wife with me.
Oh. Oh, by all means, you must bring in your wife.
That's very kind of you.
We
but-
have another couple here in the same plight.
Oh?
You can't stay out all night. We have plenty of room.
Well, thank you. My name is Thurston. I'll bring in Mrs. Thurston. We're stuck here for the night. Our name is Thurston.
Do we dare?
It's an out-of-the-way place, probably safer than traveling.
Why did the gas man send us that pair? Well,
I suppose because it's a coupe.
get rid of them.
If we let those two go, the other two will wonder why they can't go.
This is Mrs. Thurston.
My aunt, Mrs. Hamilton.
How do you do?
Won't you take Mr. and Mrs. Thurston and Aunt Julia?
Won't you come in?
Thank you. And so, for no reason at all, after dinner, we suddenly decided to spend the night at some mountain resort. That's why we're dressed as we are.
That whim seems contagious this evening.
As a matter of fact, my husband has nothing to wear except what he has on.
In some way during our frolicsome departure, my bag was left behind.
I'll take your bag up, sir.
Oh, don't bother, please. I'd much rather, if you don't mind.
You know, Mrs. Thurston, when I first saw you, I was sure that you were Betty Summers.
Really? I wonder why.
She was pointed out to me in the casino this evening.
I don't think I know her. Is there some resemblance?
Oh, striking. And then when I saw Betty Summers' car outside, you see, I happen to know Mrs. Summers' car. But of course I know that you're not Ralph Summers, because I happen to be his first wife.
Oh,
Well, dear, perhaps we'd better admit the truth.
whatever you think, Lawrence.
You were not mistaken, Mrs. Summers. This is Betty. We're running away together in her car.
Oh! Do you mean that you're leaving Ralph?
I can't imagine what you think of such proceedings.
Think? I think it's gorgeous.
Really?
I've always wanted you to run away from Ralph.
Oh, you have? Well, that's certainly a relief. Things fitting in so nicely.
It's miraculous.
No doubt Mr. and Mrs. McNear are wondering what it's all about.
The wives of Summers are meeting for the first time under bizarre circumstances.
Thanks for making it clear.
You're seeing it, aren't you?
Oh, yes, indeed. Yes, from all angles. It's thrilling. But how will your husband take it?
Oh, I'll manage Ralph. I'm going to get you out of his reach as soon as possible.
Then you'll help us.
I'll do anything in the world to help you. You see, I still love Ralph. I want him back.
Oh,
You know, up till now, I've always hated Betty Summers for what I thought was snatching my husband. I vowed that I'd pay her back in her own coin. I was going to steal Ralph away from her. She stole Ralph from me.
But you have forgiven me.
Of course I've forgiven you. Now that I know I can have Ralph back again, and I can have him too. I sensed that this evening at the casino when I saw him. And oh, my dear, you can't imagine the awful things that I was going to do to you.
Really?
Well, you see, I knew you weren't behaving as a wife who loved Ralph should behave.
Well, not quite.
I suspected there was some other man, and whoever he was, I was going to get you two and trap you together and then expose you. Well, now, you're sufficiently familiar with Ralph's temper to know what he would have done.
how fortunate it all turned out as it did.
Yes, isn't it?
The rooms are ready, Mrs. Summers.
Oh, thank you. I'll show you up.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Miss.
Good night.
If there's anything you need, just ring. There's a bell by each bedside. Mr. and Mrs. McNear are in here. Mrs. Summers and Mr. Thurston have the other two.
Oh, I say, I'm such a restless sleeper. Would you mind very much if we sort of changed around? We could take those two rooms in there.
Oh, but you forget. They're just eloping. They're not married yet.
Why?
I'm sure you'll find this room quite comfortable. Your room's right around the corner. Will you follow me, please?
Good night.
Who are those two?
Evidently a couple of crooks who stole your car.
Well, why don't you expose them?
And expose ourselves. Fine.
Well, I wouldn't go in that room with you for $1 million.
Don't be a piker. I wouldn't go in there with you for $2 million.
Is everything all right?
Oh, lovely.
Oh, good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
You get out of here.
Have a little patience, can't you? Let her get downstairs.
Get out!
Anything you need?
Oh, no, not a thing. I mean, I think I have everything. Night.
Good night.
Please don't cry.